One thing everyone is buzzing about is Hulk Hogan in TNA. And during the broadcast of the Ultimate Fighter finale, Hogan announced a special edition of TNA Impact for January 4th, which will go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw. Now, Hogan is implying that he has major creative control. Mark, is Hulk Hogan, head of creative, good or bad for TNA?
Well, I'm a longtime fan of the Hulkster, as pretty much everyone in our generation is. Hulk Hogan is the greatest superstar that has ever... Everyone in the WWE today pretty much owes their career to what he and Vince McMahon did in the 80s. Now, with that being said, making any wrestler the head of creative for an organization is not a good move. You have seen it time and time again in every failed promotion across the country. Once the talent is in control of the locker room, that's when stuff hits the fan. That's when you've got people champions for 3 years and none of the young talent gets any built up at all. Hogan, I love you, but TNA, you running creative, I'm hoping to see a better product out of TNA. But unfortunately, it looks like they're going down the same path that WCW did in the 90s.
When you bring up WCW, one of the main reasons for WCW's downfall, according to a lot of insiders, is the fact that Kevin Nash took over the booking. And immediately when he did that, what happened? It was the end of Goldberg's streak. And who was the man that beat him? Kevin Nash. He booked himself to win that match. Now, you know, you say what you want. If Hulk Hogan stays out of the ring, if he has nothing to do within the ring, he doesn't perform inside of the squared circle, him being head of creative, I think, is fine because he has a lot of influence out there. He knows a lot of people. He can certainly bring a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of talent that's not signed to the WWE. One Jeff Hardy, for instance. Another Mr. Kennedy is out there. There are a lot of people who do not have a contract, including Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam. He's available as well. So Hogan knows all of these people. He can use his influence to bring them in. But if Hogan's doing this just so that we could have the X Division champion be Brutus the Barber Beefcake and the tag team champions be the Nasty Boys, then I think that we are going to be in tremendous trouble.
There's also 2 names that you left off that list and that are going to probably very, very, very big part of this. Mr. 1, Eric Bischoff.
Yes.
And, woo, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
That's exactly right.
Now, can those 3, including Kevin Nash, get into a situation together and be able to coexist? Oh, by the way, Vince Russo. What's going to happen? I don't know. I see self-destruction. I hope not, but I see self-destruction.
Yes, somebody is definitely leaving that company.
And one other thing. Do you really think Hulk Hogan can stay out of the ring?
No.
Absolutely not.
Bad hip and all, I don't think he'll stay out of the ring. He'll be right back in there. And probably be the TNA World Champion.
You're absolutely right. But again, this ain't like when he came in the 90s to WCW.
Right.
He is plus 50 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know either.
All right. Well, let's take a break from TNA and move over to ECW.
Yeah, we certainly will. And of course, with ECW, ratings not very well right now. The ratings have dipped to an all-time low, including recently only reaching 0.8 on the rating scale. That means literally less than 1 million people watching the program. Now, we discussed before how the WWE and the Sci-Fi Network were talking about changes to the ECW brand or the possibility of the ECW brand being gone entirely. Now, with all the ratings problems that they're having and all the issues that they're going under, what's going to happen to ECW? Will it even last?
Like Pablo Escobar's career, I believe I hear taps playing for ECW. You know, ECW, we talked about this last week. ECW was what it was supposed to be 15 years ago.
Right.
This is not ECW. This is the minor leagues and the training ground of the future Raw and SmackDown superstars.
Right.
There's no one watching it because there's nobody that anybody cares about on there. And the ones that do end up getting pop, they end up getting shipped off to the other brands.
Exactly. When people cared about ECW, first of all, they took a long time to make people care about the new ECW. And when they did, what did they do? On one night, they took off Mark Henry, they took off the Hart Dynasty, Evan Bourne. It took all these guys off and moved them. And then Sheamus, the man who is currently the WWE champion. Remember, he got his start on ECW, running through ECW,
for like a
never
week.
even wrestled, never wrestled for the ECW title, immediately yanked, moved over to the Raw, and now he's the WWE champion.
This is true. The only thing that ECW has is my girl, Tiffany.
Your girl, Tiffany.
Well, she doesn't know that. Sorry, Tiffany.
Okay.
I like to inform you that.
I like Katie Lee, though. ESPN released a report stating that Andrew Martin, who was also known as Test, suffered from post-concussion syndrome. And in the report, they claim that constant head trauma, which could have been caused, by vicious chair shots that were more frequent back then, may have led to his death. Now, Mark, should the WWE institute a policy similar to the NFL policy where guys are removed for a while, months maybe, after a major hit or a major concussion?
Well, you know, when you think about that whole thing, these guys taking chair shots, not only does that hurt, okay, not only is that painful, but you are knocking your brain around.
Yes.
And unlike in the NFL, they don't have helmets on.
No.
If for anyone to think that getting hit repeatedly in the head with a steel chair isn't going to have an adverse effect on your brain, then you need to be escorted out of the building. Test is a part of a long line of superstars that met their deaths long before they should have because of complications stemming from head injuries, whether it was addiction to drugs, painkillers, whether it was just problems with concussions and the way the brain operates. Most recently, we have the death of Umaga.
Yes.
Now, the man sitting in his chair, nose starts bleeding as he died. You have to think, I'm not a doctor, I've not seen the medical report, but you have to think that somehow all of these, the pain that these guys go through and the physical trauma that they go through, especially in the head area, has to have an adverse effect and is somehow connected to them dying so young.
Yes, I would agree. Now, it being someone, who's been inside of the business for a while, these guys, they do this because they want to entertain the fans. And it became a point in time where the fans demanded more, and they demanded more and more blood, more chairs, more tables, more anything you can do, to inflict more pain. The demand was there, and the wrestlers gave it to them. Now they're taking a step back. And I know that Vince McMahon is being heavily criticized for that. But you can't blame him because the lives of these men are more important than the entertainment that they show.
He's thinking about their health. And that's another reason why, going back to what we were talking about earlier, the ECW brand is not what the ECW brand was. Exactly. Because, yes, they're performers, yes, but they're entertainers, but they're also human beings that are just working to entertain us, but they're putting their bodies on the line. And Vince McMahon knows that they are working hard, putting their bodies through hell to entertain us.
Yeah, and you mentioned Umaga. At this moment, we want to take some time to pay tribute to Edward Fatu, the man who was also known as Jamal from 3 Minute Warning, and Umaga the Samoan Bulldozer, died of a heart attack in Houston, Texas. Now, how will you remember Umaga?
Well, whenever I see Umaga, I go, oh, there's another Samoan. That big family is every year you're thinking who's going to be next out of that ranks. Yeah. When he came out, and I remember 3 Minute Warning, and as soon as he walked out, I'm like, that's one of the Samoans. that guy's definitely one of the Samoans. I mean,
both, yeah.
And he had so much promise and so much talent, like that entire family has. Yeah. And you will be missed, and our hats are off to you.
Yes, he certainly will. And I personally know a lot of members of that family, and our condolences to the entire family.
Well, before we go, we are going to take another segment look at our fans' perspective with Dave. Dave,